Now for the latest on the deadly coronavirus, which is being blamed for more than 900 deaths now, including one American. The outbreak aboard a cruise ship in Japan is getting worse, with more than 130 cases confirmed, including nearly a dozen Americans. CBS News foreign correspondent Debora Patta spoke to one of them.
All I had experienced was like a slight cough.
Isolated and confined to a hospital bed, nothing could be further removed from Rebecca Fraser's idea of a dream holiday in Asia, shattered after learning she was one of the more than 24 Americans who tested positive for coronavirus.
It was a very surreal experience to be told that you have this virus that, as far as I knew, could be deadly at that point, although I didn't feel sick at all.
Fraser said it was pretty scary being separated from her husband Kent and taken from the ship to hospital, where she won't be allowed to leave for at least 2 weeks.
So what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out of there?
I really want some American food. Also, just when I get out of here, just get back to my husband as soon as I can.
More than 3,600 people remain quarantined on the ship. In a show of solidarity, President Xi Jinping toured the streets of Beijing wearing a protective face mask. His administration has been accused of failing to respond to early warnings about the coronavirus. Dr. Li Wenliang, who died last week, was silenced when he sounded the alarm late last year. Chinese Ambassador Sui responded on Face the Nation yesterday.
I don't know who tried to silence him, but there was certainly disagreement on what exactly the virus is.
So CBS News foreign correspondent Debora Patta is joining us now from Hong Kong. So Debora, I want to go back to the situation with the cruise ships, because the coronavirus has really created quite a conundrum for these essentially floating cities, because if they find sort of one person who tests positive, suddenly these cruise ships need a place to go.
Absolutely, and it's, we saw the same situation here in Hong Kong. There was a cruise ship that was moored here for about 4 or 5 days, quarantined because it was believed that some of the crew members may have had contact on a previous voyage with suspected coronavirus cases. So, it really is a breeding ground, because everyone's in close and tight proximity, and you can see how quickly something like this can spread. And the case in Japan is obviously a case in point, and you can imagine how frustrating it must be for everyone on board. We spoke to one woman. This was the dream holiday of a lifetime. Instead of going to Tokyo Disney or touring Asia, she's been confined not only to a ship but now to a hospital, where she says she's battling. People don't always speak English. She is not 100% sure what's going on. She feels completely fine, but she will be there for at least 2 weeks, and this is going to continue to happen repeatedly.
Yeah, you pointed out that while she had to go to the hospital, her husband, who presumably she was in pretty close quarters with, obviously did not test positive. He's still back on the ship. So it just gives you an indication of how much we don't know about how this virus spreads. What about Hong Kong? What's the situation where you are?
Well, in Hong Kong, they're taking no chances. They have closed most of their borders. Those that do remain open, anyone wishing to come from the mainland has to submit to a 14-day quarantine, and they're being very strict about it. Already over 1,000 people have been issued quarantine orders, and 9 people apparently, disobeyed that and escaped from them. Most of them have been found, but 2 are still missing. And so police have actually issued warrants of arrest, because it is an illegal offense to actually run away from quarantine. So they are looking for them in the city right now. You've seen panic buying over the past few days. Sometimes it feels like fear is just as contagious as the actual disease right now. Everyone in this place wearing face masks protectively to ensure that the virus does not spread. Obviously, the close proximity to mainland China would make Hong Kong extremely worried indeed.
So we've been covering this sort of by the numbers, and we heard this horrible figure of like 900 people who have been killed by this virus, making it worse, or at least more deadly than SARS, which was a really big deal at the time. However, there's another number. Many people recover from this. For many people, it's actually symptom-free or maybe a mild illness. So what do we know about the number of people who have recovered?
It's a good point that you raised there, Anne-Marie. I mean, I think there's over 3,400 people who have recovered from the virus. And this is important to note that not everyone who gets the virus is going to die. In fact, so far, and this could change because there's all sorts of new investigations into the virus and information is changing at such a rapid rate at the moment. But so far, it seems that the mortality rate is fairly low. For example, Ebola, by comparison, there's a 70% mortality rate. That is not the case with the coronavirus. They're saying around 2%, but that could be higher because there's still a lot of unknowns about what exactly is happening in Hubei province and how people are being tested and if everybody is actually being tested. But people can recover. We've seen people who are completely asymptomatic. The woman that we spoke to said she felt absolutely fine. She went to hospital. She still hasn't felt sick. She said she got a very mild temperature, but not something that she felt, just something that was shown to her on the thermometer. That's gone. The mild cough that she has cleared up. So some people seem to not be suffering at all. There is still so much that is unknown about this virus, and that information is going to be very important over the next few weeks to allay fears about people traveling in this region and also globally how this disease could spread or not spread.
Yeah, indeed, because it's had quite an impact economically too. Debora Patta, thank you very much.